After this movie's release, I guarantee purchases of gym memberships went up about 110% everywhere. I know I got mine. Hello ladies and gentlemen and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to another new release review. And for today, we will be covering Creed 2. I was hyped as hell for Creed 2, one of my most anticipated movies on the entire year, so did it deliver? Well, let's hop into the positives and find it. To start, once again, the leads, the three-headed monster that is Michael B. Jordan, Tessa Thompson, Sylvester Stallone, they all give fantastic, impactful, emotional performances. They bring their A-game, they just have that grit, they just have so much going for them, so much emotion, they give it 110%. Although I would say that Sylvester Stallone, I could have used a lot more of him in this movie, but this movie is a lot more focused on Adonis than it is Rocky, like the first Creed. So although Sylvester Stallone gave a fantastic performance once again, I can't see any Oscar buzz coming into this one for him. Next is something that has surprised me and probably surprised a lot of people for this movie, and that is we actually have great villains. Like, not just good, cartoony kind of villains like Mr. T.S. Clubber Lang or even the original version of Ivan Drago. We have real villains that we actually see a lot of in this movie, as well as villains that we feel actually have just as much to lose as our hero does. So, although we don't necessarily cheer for them, they're friggin' great. And next is the boxing in this movie. Now, although the boxing I did not enjoy as much as I did in the first Creed, and that's because this boxing feels a lot more like Rocky boxing, as in these guys are just landing haymaker after haymaker and taking every shot and just keeping on going. So it feels a lot more like a Rocky movie. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing because I love the Rocky movies, but this is a Creed movie, so I expected the same kind of level of intensity and just raw power that we got in the first Creed. Although it doesn't fully translate over, it still does feel more realistic than the Rocky movies, but it just kind of has that cartoonish vibe to it at times. Next is the story in this movie. There's a lot of emotion in this story. There's a lot going for this story, and it feels just very natural and very real in this universe. We're in a universe where Ivan Drago killed Apollo Creed. Apollo Creed's son, Adonis Creed, is now the champion, and Ivan has a kid who's a monster of a human being and a killer boxer. Pun surprisingly not intended. So of course these two had to clash at some point, and that's the story. So like, of course, where they set up this whole universe, it had to happen in this universe. You have that time jump where Adonis has so much more to lose now. You know, he has the championship, he's engaged, he just had a baby. There's a lot going on in this story, but you never feel like it's going too far. This all feels very natural, very real. The story is very impactful, and it delivers a hell of a lot in its 2-hour runtime. Next is kind of a more minor positive, but it's something that, you know, it was good enough for me to pick up on, and that's the soundtrack to this movie. I actually really enjoyed it. It kind of does this almost like orchestra hip-hop feel through it, a lot of it, and it was really, really enjoyable. Really had me moving, had me going in the scenes. Like, it really amped me up. It was really, really well done, especially heading into the final fight. Like, that's something I forgot to mention in the boxing part. I was literally sweating in the final fight. It was so damn good. And lastly, this is part plea, part positive, and that is the fact that this movie has a perfect ending. And by perfect, I mean don't make another one, please. Although I know this movie is going to be successful, and we're more than likely going to get another one, I really feel like they should just leave it. Every story wraps up beautifully. It wraps up exactly as you want it to, exactly as you expect it to. You feel closure. And now for the negatives for this movie, and there are two. The first one being that this movie is formulaic and cliche as it possibly gets. This is literally a mishmash of two other Rocky movies. Like, you can see exactly beat for beat where the story is going, and it plays out exactly as you would expect. And the last negative already is the fact that this movie kind of has that Hollywood polish to it. It feels a little bit more Hollywood, and of course that's kind of what you expect. A lot of boxing movies are like that, and pretty much all the Rocky movies except for the first one are like that, but I just, Creed 1 wasn't. You know, this is the Creed franchise now. Although it's one long franchise, I was expecting a Creed sequel, not a Rocky spin-off. This one feels more like a Rocky spin-off and not a Creed sequel. So with all that being said, guys, Creed 2 is definitely a worthy sequel to the first Creed. Does not quite surpass the first one, but I still had a hell of a time with it. It definitely, packs a punch. So I'm going to be giving Creed 2 an 8 out of 10. If you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know. What did you think of Creed 2? Do you think it was just as good as the first Creed? Does it surpass it, or does it fall just a little bit short? And be sure to check me out on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Links will be in the description and at the end of the video. And as always, be sure to check out my Instagram page every Friday for the Fan Vote Friday. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And that's a wrap. Welcome back to another new release review. For today, we'll be covering Wreck-It Ralph 2.